Okay, so now we're going to talk about author relationships, which honestly have improved on my end so much, like exponentially. I'm going to keep using the word exponentially because it was that kind of year. 2017 was an exponential year in terms of business relationships and just successes. So I'm really happy. But my author relationships have really expanded and improved, mostly because I've been in different author groups and not only hosting my own giveaways, but also participating in others' giveaways. So I've been in, I can't even count at this point. Melanie Tomlin's amazing prolific reader giveaway, which happens every single month, like literally on the dot through different weekends throughout the month. She has a massive, massive book blog called The Prolific Reader, and she does a variety of different giveaways, but basically hosts a bunch of free books in different genres. She offers some highlighted spots. She offers author interview spots. I mean, she like goes in on her reader blog, and it's incredible because not only are we getting some really amazing exposure and downloads, but I believe because she's the owner of the site, she also pretty much gets the email of every single reader who's downloaded our book. So yeah, like she's awesome. So I've partnered with her, not just participating in her giveaway, but she has been a super amazing active participant, going above and beyond for the 25 Days of Box Sets giveaway. So if you're watching this, we probably aren't, but thank you so much, Melanie. You've been amazing, and I hope that we can expand on our relationship in the future. And this is not just to point out Melanie. There are many other authors who I've had really great growing relationships with. Jean Lowe Carlson, Jay Thorne, who's great, he's amazing, and many others. Yvonne Carter, who's relatively new to the game, as far as I know. I consider myself new to the game, so I don't say that in a condescending way. But who's lovely and enthusiastic and wonderful. N.D. Jones, Angela J. Ford, just all these amazing authors. And if I didn't mention you, I'm not trying to snub you. It's just that there's so many of you who I've really enjoyed working with, and I can't remember them all because it's literally 5:20 in the morning Mountain Time. I've been up since 3:30, so just forgive me, please. But just generally, because I've been collaborating with authors on my giveaways and participating in their giveaways, I am growing a very, very, very large list of authors with whom I have really good relationships. Doing newsletter swaps, co-collabs, co-giveaways. I'm forgetting the name of, of what those giveaways are actually called. But when like 10 to 20 authors pay to put into like a reader-specific prize, and then we all advertise that through our networks, we give them the prize, and then we award them consolation prizes, and then we give them even more stuff just to attract readers. Those kinds of giveaways. That has been wonderful. Also, I think I have now over 130 authors signed up in the New Adult Noir group online. And I'm trying not to go too deep into New Adult Noir, but as you have noticed, if you've watched this video, the reader relationship video, and the influencer relationship video, a big part of my success with readers, authors, and influencers has been the establishment and the growth of the New Adult Noir subsidiary / blog / author promotion services company that I opened in early June, late May. And so I'm not trying to go too deeply into it, but New Adult Noir has really helped to build all these relationships. And so a lot of the authors that I now interact with on a regular, usually weekly basis, I interact with them through the New Adult Noir Facebook group, because that's where a lot of them live, as well as the email marketing list. So if they're not a part of the Facebook group, which is totally fine, then they're definitely on my mailing list. And so this month, actually, or rather the past few months, I haven't really been that great about announcing to my current authorship and my current author list about upcoming giveaways, which is kind of ridiculous because on paper they say, getting a new lead, getting, new people is, quote, more expensive than just rewarming the list that you already have and reconnecting with authors that you already have a relationship with, which I absolutely believe is true. It takes me a lot of time to scour all the author groups and post the fact that New Adult Noir is having its most current giveaway to please sign up, etc. Then it takes a lot more effort to do that than it would just to send out an email to my current authorship. But when you're developing author relationships, you do have to remember, at least for me personally, maybe when I become, a big dog in the future, I won't have to do this as much. But I think it's just as important to nourish and nurture a relationship that you have going on currently with an author. And you also need to be expanding into new authors and see who else is coming up on the scene. New authors are coming into the industry all the time. And then there are also some authors who've been veterans in the industry who may want to partner with you. But they just haven't seen a post in one of those author groups, or they just don't know you exist, So I wanted to talk more about my goals for 2018, but I'm going to save that for my 2018 post. But basically, I'm really, really happy, really pleased with the level of just amazing interaction, the kinds of relationships, the very healthy, functional, mutually beneficial relationships that we're all forming with one another. The indie author community as a whole is relatively very warm and welcoming and very collaborative. And I have to say, you guys might have heard this on one of my former podcasts when I was running Rebel Ragdoll Radio a couple years back. But a lot of my interactions in the indie author community, it was a very specific part of the indie author community, and I'm not going to drag that part of the indie author community on this podcast or on any podcast. I'm going to stay on code. But there were certain factions and parts of the indie author community that, in my opinion, weren't particularly collaborative, at least not with me, where there were some ageist sort of limitations there. I was often, and I'm not saying that I did not contribute to this, to some degree, but I was singing more of with my fresh new marketing ideas and, hey, let's get together and do this giveaway, or I have this idea to help expand our readership. I was always seen and always cast, literally the leaders of these indie groups would tell everybody else in the group that I was young, I didn't know what I was talking about, and I was stupid, and I needed to, quote, respect my elders, and that nothing I had to contribute to the indie author community, that particular community, was useful or valuable. Every time I tried to recruit authors through these certain groups into new giveaways and new marketing tactics, I was always disparaged, both publicly and privately. And it was a very, very negative experience. And so for a while, I was very discouraged from trying to participate in more collaborative endeavors. And I thought, well, these people are treating me this way. My enthusiasm, the knowledge that I do have from watching people who are successful in the way that I want to be successful, like the self-publishing guys, Sean and I forget what the other guys' names are, Sean Platt and his crew, from watching Joanna Penn, from watching, the sci-fi fantasy marketing podcast with Lindsay Baroka, Joe Lalo, and the other guy. I'm sorry, other guy. I feel horrible. I haven't met you guys directly, and I just need to get you. Jeffrey Poole and Joe Lalo. Let's get it together, Colby. By watching and emulating people that I feel are successful in the ways that I want to be successful, i.e. being able to make a full-time living off of my writing, being able to make certain bestseller lists, although that's become less important to me recently, a little bit less important. By emulating those individuals and watching what they do, I wanted to bring that knowledge back to this specific author community so that we could all be on the forefront of the publishing, trend and the wave of self-publishing and indie publishing as well. And every single idea that I brought back to that group was just completely shot down. And I had no idea really what was going on. And I really did have to step back and evaluate myself and evaluate how I was interacting with the community, reviewed my posts to see if I was being obnoxious or arrogant. At the end of the day, I realized that I don't feel like I was being obnoxious or arrogant, that I was just not fit for this group of authors in particular. So I decided to move along and find people who were more my speed. And, you know, my personality and my way of interaction has not changed at all since changing communities, but the response has been like literally night and day. My enthusiasm, the way that I like to market, the kinds of goals that I have are more in alignment with the current author community that I have right now. And I also, for me personally, just to get into an issue that's very important to me, it was very important that I find not only authors that I really jive with and that I can work with, but also find those same kinds of authors amongst the authors of color community. And I realized that I honestly, like a lot of us are writers of color, tend to kind of be lone wolves when it comes to our marketing and our and like whether or not we choose to partner with other authors of color. Most of the authors of color that I've found have been in the larger indie author community as opposed to being a part of niche communities, you know. And so for those of you who don't really understand what it's like or how it feels to be, for example, a Black female sci-fi writer, there are things that I think we think about and that we deal with in terms of marketing, in terms of how we position our work, in terms of finding a readership. These are things that we have to consider that other authors don't really have to consider. And I'm not going to say all authors, because there is a very strong, in my opinion, gender bias in terms of genre and genre writing. For example, people are very surprised that I write the dark, gritty stuff that I write because I'm a woman. And so that was a big reason why, not the main reason, but a big reason why I chose my pen name to be Colby R. Rice. It sounds more male than female, but arguably it could be both. And I just didn't want people looking at my name and saying, oh, this person is, you know, a woman who also might be a woman of color. She can only write this kind of stuff. Because people will look at you and they will determine whether or not they want to read your work by who you are. And I know a lot of people, JF Penn basically felt like she needed to use a different pen name in order to get, you know, her books to be seen through like a clean lens and not have that bias in front of her. And so there's certain parts of the community that I think are more conducive to what you want to do as an author and how you want to be interpreted as an author. And there are different tactics that each of us use as authors to, I wouldn't say become more palatable to people, but so that people do not come into our works with this lens of bias. And so this entire story of me finding finally an author community, and not just one, but several author communities, as well as building my own author community that is free of bias, that is collaborative, a place wherein we listen to each other and we learn from each other. That has been extremely impactful for me and extremely important for me, not just on, you know, a book marketing level, but just on an emotional level. In terms of knowing that I'm not alone out there. Not only can I form relationships with other authors, but that there are other authors who are welcoming to new faces, who are welcoming to you, whether or not you're Black, Asian, white, whatever, whether or not you're a male or female, whether or not you're younger or older, that they will welcome you with open arms and not judge you, and that they can look at an idea and say, that's a damn good idea, Colby, or that's a damn good idea, you know, whoever else, and have their assessment of your idea have nothing to do with who you are, what gender you are, what color you are, you know, how young you are, or even how new you are. a good idea is a good idea in the author community. A brilliant strategy is a brilliant strategy in this community that I found. And so I say that to say, I guess I want to give a big thank you to all the authors out there, both of color and both not, both men and female authors and transgender authors. The sweet romance to the sexy erotica to the, to the clean fantasy to the dark and gritty, bloody, horror fantasy and sci-fi authors. To everybody who I have a connection with and that I'm currently in community with, thank you so much just for being you, for being amazing, because for a long time I didn't think that I would be able to have an author community, especially an author community that was potentially diverse but also still doing its thing and on point, and we're coming together to make these books amazing and to get the world to see what we can do. I didn't know if I could have that kind of community, and now I do, and I'm going to keep growing on it. And I'm going to keep also growing community by providing my own space for authors who are interested specifically in, for example, dark and gritty, because not everybody can really roll with the darkness, as JF Penn would say. And so I'm glad that I found people who can roll with that, but also with other things as well. So thank you guys, and it's been a great year for building author relationships. It's been amazing. Oh, just as a quick summary, because I did the emotional goopy part, but I didn't tell you what I actually did. So I participated. Oh, actually, I did tell you guys mostly what I did. Cross author promos, really great for building author relationships and reader bases. Genre specific newsletter swaps. For those of you guys who are looking to do swaps with other people, with other authors, make sure you're doing swaps that make sense. General swaps are fine, but I prefer genre-specific swaps and also kind of content-specific swaps. So I have no problem doing like an epic fantasy newsletter swap. That's great, but if it's a dark and gritty epic fantasy, that's even better. It gets more engagement because your reader list is tailored to the books that you write, because they're on your list because they want to be with you. And to offer them books that are similar or close to the kind of content they're into is a really great idea. I was also in 5 multi-author box sets, 2 of which I managed by myself. So 2 of them were, actually all of them were, 4 out of 5 of them were fantasy, from 2 fantasy box sets called Magic and Mayhem, 1 sci-fi and fantasy YA box set called Other Worlds, 1 epic fantasy box set called Epic, and that was one that I put together for the 25 Days of Box Sets giveaway. And then I also participated in a dystopian box set called No Hope Left, and that was also created specifically for the 25 Days of Box Sets giveaway. So I really also enjoy doing box sets and bundles. Those are amazing for building a really rabid, happy readership, and just for providing a lot of value. I mean, I am in love with dystopian stuff, and I would, as a reader, would be like, I would love to have a whole box set. Like, give me literally 3 to 20 books in a dystopian genre, or in a zombie genre, or in a viral outbreak genre, and I'm just survival horror. Oh my god, can we just talk about survival horror and how much I would love that? So it provides readers a lot of value, and it also helps you to strengthen relationships between yourself and authors. And that's about it. Okay, so again, I've been hinting at New Adult Noir. I invite you, if you're just thirsty and thirsty to find out basically what New Adult Noir is about, how we've grown, how we've established, and how it has literally contributed to every aspect of my growing relationships, from influencer relationships to author relationships to reader relationships. If you want to know about all that, just go now to New Adult Noir, the 2017 roundup, and I will see you guys in the very next video. Bye.